Sit back and relax while you listen to Train Kickers podcast. I'm Dave, and along with my co-hosts Dan and Steve, we're going to take you all around the world of miniature wargaming. On tonight's episode, we're going to go through the 13th Legion, the Ultramarines, in our Horus Heresy deep dive. Just before, we're going to go through every little bit of these guys, and if you are looking for the Rite of War, they actually only have one. There will be a separate video, and there'll be a note about that so you can find it as well. I do want to thank everyone who does listen and all. Our channel has actually grown quite a bit in the last month. It's been a very exciting month for us. And just for anyone who is listening or watching and isn't following us, subscribing, anything like that, please do consider that. It actually really does help out. For anyone who listens on a podcatcher, I am currently assembling the different rites of war. Rather than put out a ton, I kind of want to put them out together, and that's currently being worked on. My hope is, now with kind of back to school, it should hopefully in the next few weeks. And now, on to the show. All right, and we are here tonight with the next Legion. So, in our ever-expanding going through the Horus Heresy, we're on to the 13th Legion, the Ultramarines. Just like all the other ones, we're going to go through anything and everything about the Legion. We are skipping Primarchs for the time being, and the Rites of War video will be separate. It should be out about a day or so after this one. So, Dan volunteered to talk about the Fluff, and let's see how good he gets it this time.
Yeah, let's talk about the Fluff. Little side note, this is actually one of the legions I wanted to start besides the Alpha Legion. I narrowed it down to 2 legions, 1 traitor, 1 loyalist, and this was the loyalist I wanted to do. Because I think they look really cool. I love their Romanesque. I love Custodes, so I love the Ultramarines Romanesque kind of look. So the Ultramarines, basically the rulers of the I don't know how GW pronounces it, but I'm just the Ultima Segmentum.
Yes, Ultima Segmentum.
Yeah, it's going to be Segmentum, but whatever, sure. What's really interesting is the Ultramarines as a chapter are very different from the 40k Ultramarines. 40k Ultramarines are very much the poster boys. They're always on the front cover of 40k and everything. In the Horus Heresy, they're very much like every other legion. Doesn't mean that their their tactics change. They're very much still mutable tactics. They're the Codex Astartes before the Codex Astartes. But they're very much not the poster boys. Just a little side note. What's really interesting about the Ultramarine Fluff and Guilliman as a whole is that they actually did not. This is going to sound weird. Let me finish. They did not take a huge part in the Horus Heresy. What happened was that as they heard that there was basically, or they didn't even hear it yet, but right before that, they heard that Horus was a traitor and they were going to move out to help Terra. They were actually attacked by the World Eaters, the Word Bearers, and of course the demons of the Ruin Storm that the Word Bearers conjured up. I think it was 500 worlds or 600 worlds that were engulfed by basically the Shadow Crusade. And so the entire basically Ultima Segmentum was just cast into war, and the idea here was that they wanted to prevent the Ultramarines from arriving on Terra to basically, cripple them or just slow them down, and it worked fantastic. Really cool side note. Not a lot of people know this, and I'm not. No, this is not a spoiler. This is not a spoiler. But during this betrayal, there's actually an Ultramarine, Sergeant Thiel, and I'm hoping I'm pronouncing his name right. Sergeant Thiel, who is actually undergoing a trial. He's under formal censure because he was basically telling or training Astartes how to fight other Astartes. He was actually making whole theoretical cases and whole theses on how Astartes should fight other Astartes. And Guilliman actually got pissed off of him and actually jailed him and censured him. And right before his trial, he was waiting in Guilliman's armory. Basically they were betrayed at Calth. And Thiel goes, there's a battle going on, and
my time has come.
Yeah, he legit enters Guilliman's armory and just starts taking weapons and shit. literally just goes out to beat the shit out of Word. Ultimate badass, in my opinion. He's basically like, in part of their language, when he's like, fuck it, Primarch will yell at me later. Might as well just use his weapons now. He takes a long sword. He takes 2 priceless blades. I think he takes a shield. He basically raids Guilliman's armory, which I think is pretty damn awesome. And then the last thing about the Ultramarines that you should know, something very spicy about them, is that when Ultramar was freed, Guilliman did not actually know whether Emperor and Terra were lost, which could have been a problem. And so the Dark Angels, Blood Angels, who were stranded in the segmentum, in the Ultima Segmentum, actually created a secondary Imperium known as Imperium Secundus. And they basically, as Guilliman essentially acting as the de facto emperor, essentially. Eventually, of course, they broke up when they heard about what happened in Terra and everything. And then later on, they create the Codex Astartes. They break up the legions.
Didn't he put Sanguinius as emperor?
Yes.
Sanguinius, not him.
There's a whole little political thing going on there because Guilliman's like, I organized this, but if I'm emperor, people will get the wrong idea. And the lion, he's not got the people skills. But Sanguinius, you're so pretty. The people are gonna love you. You should be emperor. And he's like, fine, I'll do it. And yeah.
At this point, little side note: did Sanguinius know he was gonna die? When did Sanguinius receive his death visions?
I'm not sure.
I don't know enough to say one way or the other.
I want to say that was on Terra. Okay. I wasn't sure if that's why he accepted it or not. I know that, again, spoiler alert, Sanguinius starts receiving death visions, which is why he dive bombs a goddamn, Warlord Titan or Imperator Titan during Terra, because he knows he's not going to die there. But Ultramarines, actually a really cool legion, fluff-wise. Definitely, if you want to read a book, Betrayal of Calth is an excellent, excellent book to start with.
Also a great boxed set if you find one somewhere.
But definitely a cool legion, and if you like that, so how every legion is kind of based off like a real world kind of tribe or culture. The Ultramarines are very, very, very specifically Roman,
Greco-Roman, I'd say. Yes.
The reason I don't say Greco-Roman is because we already have Greek Marines. So I think that these guys are more Roman, but screw it, Greco-Roman.
All right.
But yeah, that's the fluff.
Yeah, and for the book, if anyone's interested to hear more about essentially the Second Imperium they do, that's Unremembered Empire, and it was 500 worlds of that they have.
It was 500, yeah.
Yeah, it's 500.
I know they got screwed. Yeah, they were really, when I say they got caught with their pants down, they got caught with their pants down.
Oh yeah. If you read the book, it is, very much them getting destroyed for quite a while. But,
oh yeah.
All right.
It was an amazing trap. It's like, hey, yo, brother, let's meet up, let's hang out. Prepare to big mold muster together. And it's like, hey, why your weapons battery's operational? Oh shit.
Yeah. All right.
And it even ranges like Titans too. There's just all over the place. Just the betrayal at Calth was a huge ordeal, and it literally kept the Ultramarines stuck on that side of the galaxy for the entire heresy.
All right, Steve, do you want the trait or the reaction?
I'll cover the trait.
Okay.
It's a fun one. So, the Strength of Wisdom. When rolling to hit for a model with the special rule, as part of a shooting attack, add 1 to the result of the roll if the enemy was targeted by the attack. Has already been oh my goodness, I cannot get a single word right today. Essentially, think of this as like a marker light system. If you shoot something that's already been shot by something within 6 inches of you, you get +1 to hit.
Yep.
That's the easy version of it.
Not from Blast and Barrage, I should point out.
Yeah.
To give an example, well, those don't matter because it's a +1 to hit, not +1 skill. But yeah.
True.
But basically what this means is you have a squad riding around in a Rhino, they hop out of the Rhino, and they're within 6 inches of it. The Rhino shoots his combi bolter, it scores a couple hits, and then the squad gets +1 to hit the same target. That's one way to do it.
Hold on, do you need a score successful hit, or is it just the target of an attack?
Just a target.
Oh yeah. So the Rhino could just target something and miss completely. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, it just fires off some tracers like, there's the target, okay. Yeah. And then they just annihilate it.
Yeah. And then you can chain it down because then they might be in 6 inches of someone else and someone else all the way over. So it definitely plays to wanting, if you're doing shooting, wanting gun lines. And they don't necessarily even have to be overlapping. They just need to be close enough that someone else can benefit when someone else shoots, assuming you guys all want the same target.
I've seen this used to very great effect. Because there's, I think, only one Ultramarines player, I swear to God, that I know. But I saw this used to great effect with support squads. Where the Rhino just dumped out like 10 Plasma Marines, and then they started on 2s. Also, I saw this. Oh, it was such a cheeky move, and I loved it. Where what's the long range bolter? Please remind me.
The Nemesis.
Is it? No, it's like a normal bolter.
The Nemesis
bolter, right? So I think he attached or he gave the sergeant a Nemesis bolter. This was back in 1.0. I don't know if you could still do this. So bear with me. But he gave the sergeant like a Nemesis bolter on like a las cannon heavy support squad or something. No, or he attached a Nemesis support bolter, something to the effect of, and he would shoot that at like a land raider, not do any damage, of course, but then the las cannon squad would hit on 2s. So I thought that was a pretty neat use of the rule as well.
Not out of the same squad, because they'd all be firing simultaneously.
Yeah.
But you could do something like that with even say your sniper or something like that. Yeah, he targets it, and now this other unit will get the bonus when they go at the target.
Yeah. It was really neat. It's just like you could do some really neat things with this.
It's straightforward good, although you have to be very careful about positioning and where you put your stuff and what's going to want to shoot what, because you only get the bonus if you are mass firing. So, but I think, yeah, support squads in rhinos and stuff like that is huge. Yeah, because you get your bonus because the rhino automatically gets to shoot at something at once, and you don't care if you hit so snap shoot over at the thing.
I know you mentioned this before. I'm not sure if it was on the podcast or like whenever we play at Maplewood. Yeah. But I know you've mentioned before that you don't like your Terminator shooting, right? But now I can imagine.
Well, the reason I don't enjoy them shooting so much is currently through our league we're still in low points. Low points means you don't tend to have a lot of units, which means reactions are huge. So when my Terminators shoot, whatever they're hoping to go against probably has better shots back a lot of the times. And I know I'm going to take an Overwatch as well, so I just don't want to get hit that much.
Okay, that makes sense. No, because I was going to say then, like, you could shoot like the Land Raider, and if the Terminators are close by, that's still, what, 10 Terminators, 20 combi bolters, which is not bad.
Yeah.
On 2s.
Yeah, if you're running a full squad of 10, everyone with combi bolters, which is not how I technically can because I have enough of them, but not how I ever run them, especially not these points.
No, but it's just it's a neat little side. Like, it does help. It's a cool thing. It does promote transports, which is also a side benefit.
Yes,
like it does promote transports a lot.
Yeah,
really neat is that a Land Raider could split fire all its weapons because it has power of the machine spirits. You go 1, 2, 3, 4 if you have a pintle mounted weapon, and just light up different things. And now you have a bubble of everyone's getting perks left, right, and center.
Very true.
I didn't even think of that.
That said, I would rather, target something with a bolter and give the las cannon a +1 than shoot a las cannon and give a bolter a +1. But, it does work that way.
No,
and remember, sponsons, if they can't all see the same thing, can split fire too on other vehicles, such as Predators.
And keep in mind also for weapons that count as defensive, because they are allowed to shoot closest target. So you could, depending on how you are positioned, potentially get several different targets, even when normally you should have to fire at one thing. So, all right, a good ability, but definitely worth paying attention to and being careful with, because you have to work to get this bonus. It's not a freebie all the time. And if you start getting spread out, or if your opponent realizes it and starts taking out the units, say, sitting in the middle, and you're not repositioning, then you're going to start losing all of your extras. +1 potential on any gun you want to fire is huge. It really, really is. There's nothing worse than rolling a 2. All right. I guess I will take the advanced reaction then. All right. Normal rules, you got to be Ultramarines. You get to use it once, all of that. So I'm going to skip all that for the moment. Unity of purpose. It's once per battle in the opponent player's shooting phase when any enemy player declares a shooting attack targeting a friendly unit under the active player's control that's entirely Ultramarines. So they're going to shoot you. Once the active player resolves all to hit, to wounds, and armor saves before any damage mitigation are made or casualty removed. So currently, the same way you do the other core shooting phase reactions. The active player may choose to expend one of the reactions for the phase to have both the unit targeted by the shooting attack and one other unit composed entirely of models that are Ultramarine special rule make a shooting attack. Targeting a unit that triggered this reaction, following all the normal rules for shooting. After that, it's the same ones you would get related to your Overwatch or your other shooting reactions of, can't use any weapons indirectly, including barrage. Vehicles are only defensive weapons. Templates have to do with an 8 inches and they use Wall of Death. both units do count as having made a reaction that phase, so therefore cannot make further reactions. So they're going to shoot you. You can either do your normal reaction of shooting back, you could do your shrouded, or once per game, you can shoot back and someone else can. They do have to be able to see them, obviously. They do have to have the right distance to them, but there's nothing in this rule about how close your two units have to be. Now,
no, that's spicy.
Does their Legion trait work in reaction?
As part of a shooting
It's
attack.
the same shooting phase, so I think it would work.
Yeah, it's a
I
shooting
would say,
attack,
because that is a shooting. It doesn't say your shooting phase, it says the same shooting phase. So if they are close, you can give the second unit the bonus, but they don't have to be close. So if someone shoots at your attack Marines, you can absolutely shoot back with your, say, tactical Marine squad, but then you could also fire back with your last cannons or missiles or something crazy.
I cannot wait to talk about Fulmentarus. That is, oh my god, my favorite.
We'll get to it. Don't worry. Calm down. We'll see if you're the one who gets to talk about them.
I will murder people.
No, you won't. Of the ones we've read so far, because now we're over halfway through, what I really like about this one, it is very strong. Assuming you're running I wouldn't necessarily say gun line, but assuming you have some good firing units, and this army wants it because of both their trait / I think in general in the game, you want to be able to. But if that's the case, you know, you can do a lot, because let's face it, there's been plenty of games where I look at a unit and say, yeah, I'm not going to shoot them because what they're going to do back to me is terrible. I might have to assault them or something, or maybe I got to make sure I'm far enough away, or whatever the condition may be. This means if they haven't used this yet, anytime you shoot one of their units, if you're in a good range for what you're afraid of them hitting you with, they can absolutely just fire at you with it.
Uh-huh.
You know, you think you have to be a lot more careful in your own shooting phase with firing things that don't truly matter. So like your bolt pistols on a squad of assault marines or something like that. I'm probably not firing them if there's like a plasma squad anywhere that can reach me, because I know you could use this and now I'm not getting my charge off. Or, like I said, those Terminators. If you haven't used your reaction yet and you have guns that could realistically hurt my Terminators, maybe I probably don't want to fire some combi bolters.
Like the game I played recently against Iron Warriors with my Myrmidons, if those were Ultramarines and I got two, like my Myrmidons were almost dead by the end of that shooting phase, from just the fire back. But if there were two squads shooting me, like that's tough.
Yeah,
that's a tough choice. Even for tanks too.
Yes.
Like you take a Predator tank, right? And your Predator tank goes, oh, that's right, I'm just going to shoot tack squads. But then if he's got like a 10-man last cannon squad in the back, zap.
It pushes, and rightly so, I think. But their advanced reaction pushes me, if I'm playing these guys, to take a not necessarily max or near max unit that has very good shots. Like I said, otherwise I'm not trying to take like 10-man last can squads. But if I was playing Ultramarines, this might be a spot where I do it, because no one is safe at least once, and I can get these guys hitting on twos in some other turn because I fired my bolters at the thing because I don't care if it hurts it or not. I want to hit last cannons better. Or maybe even a larger squad of plasma, or even melta-guns, something. So I think it leans itself to the heavy weapons, the special weapons, and good distance.
No, I agree. No, it's really good.
Any other thoughts on that before we move on to these here Warlord traits? All right. It's good to see at least some of these are nice and straightforward.
Yeah, no. So, to be fair, in every Legion, we found like something that it's like, oh, God, okay, does it mean this? Does it mean this? What was the intent versus rules of written? I mean, hell, we had that big discussion on Friday with the Space Wolves again, right? Mm-hmm. It's nice to see something that's like,
yeah,
this is how it works.
Yeah, it's very clear, and if for some reason it wasn't intended that way, then it's a poor writing. Rather, it's an exceedingly poor writing as opposed to just a missed word.
But it's nice. It's
right,
nice.
3 Warlord traits. Anyone got a preference?
I'm taking the last one.
Okay.
Of course you would. I'll take Burden of Kings. I'll take
Be
Burden of
loyal.
Kings. Of course. In any phase in which one or more wounds has been allocated to a warlord with this trait, whether saved or unsaved. Interesting, okay. The warlord gains the It Will Not Die 4-up and Fearless special rule until the end of the warlord's controlling player's next turn. In addition, an army whose warlord has this trait may, once in each of the opposing player's turns, make a single reaction without spending a point of the controlling player's reaction allotment, as long as the reaction is made by the warlord or unit or in the warlord he joins. So he gets a free reaction, and if he gets wounded, but it's saved or unsaved, it doesn't matter. He gets It Will Not Die in Fearless for the unit. Or It Will Not Die for him, Fearless for him in the unit he's in. Ooh, I like this trait.
I like this trait as an option for, what's his name to steal? Ralderon.
Yes.
Remember from the Blood Angels? The guy who could take any warlord trait from a loyalist?
Yeah.
This one, I think, would be really cool on him. Because It Will Not Die 4-up is nice. It gives you a 50-50 chance of regrowing a wound at the end of your turn.
Yep.
That's
and
awesome.
Fearless. Fearless is great.
Like,
Fearless,
say a squad shoots you, you got, like, one bolter save and, 4 plasma saves. Like, he'll take the one bolter save. Fuck it. And, yeah. It's like, oh, look, the bolter bounced, and I'm going to regrow a wound.
Yeah, I'm going to regrow a wound. Yeah, that's really nice. And the fact that he can spend a single reaction in any phase for not, as long as his unit, of course, it makes me want to stick him in, a big unit of, like Dave was just saying, you want to take big units. It makes me want to take him in a big unit of something powerful. I like this one. This one's cool. This one's neat. I don't think we've had one where it's like a single. Have we had one where it's a reaction is free?
Not quite to this level.
Yeah.
There's been ones that have been somewhat close because one of the ones for Iron Hands is you don't get movement reactions, but you get an extra one in essentially shooting or assault. But one where it's essentially your warlord's unit just gets one reaction of their own every turn. No, that's different.
Interessante.
It is restricted to the warlord's unit specifically.
Yeah, I did
so
say
this is actually a lot like the Imperial Fists one. They had one that's the warlord specifically gets the reaction.
Yes.
Okay. Still really neat, though. Still really.
No,
I like this one a lot.
It Will Not Die is nice. You can get your wounds back. Fearless is nice. You don't actually have to take a wound for anything to happen. So yeah, you can put the chump thing on him, or if people are shooting at your unit, you get it anyway. And having say into when you get a reaction is really useful. And it's not using up your action. So if your opponent ever points at your warlord's unit or moves close to them or wants to assault them or do anything with them, there's always that option if they get one. And there's nothing that doesn't say your warlord can't use one of your reaction points later in a different phase to do something. So I know you always have at minimum one reaction to act against me.
Praetors have 4 wounds.
If they're in Cataphract, if they're in Terminator Armory, yes.
So the reason I like this is because you can realistically tank because it's until your next turn.
Yeah.
Right. Until the end of your next turn. Meaning, realistically, you can tank 2 wounds.
Well, no. It Will Not Die is not the same as Feel No Pain. It Will Not Die is at the end of your own turn. You heal 1.
Let me finish. You can take, I shouldn't say tank, apologies. You can take 2 wounds realistically on that 4-wound Praetor with a 50-50 shot of regrowing them.
One of them.
One. Not all the dice.
Oh, one of them. Sorry, yes.
Yeah.
You can take 2 wounds. That's not bad. That's really cool. I like that.
All right. Well, Aegis of Wisdom then. So that one was the Loyalist. The last one Steve's going to go over is Traitor. So this one is for anyone. Any friendly unit made up entirely of models that's our Ultramarine special rule that can draw a line of sight to Warlord with this Warlord trait may, when called upon to regroup, use a Warlord's leadership characteristic for that test. And if successful, the unit may make shooting attacks and declare charges as normal, ignoring the normal restrictions for units that have regrouped in the same turn. Additionally, an army whose warlord has this trait, you get an extra reaction in the shooting phase, assuming he's still alive.
This is deceptively strong.
Yeah.
Because if your army gets broken, you feel it the next turn.
You do.
This guy makes it a lot easier to not feel it.
I find...
And with everyone's leaderships going down this edition, it'll come up at least once or twice a game.
Yeah, I've found so far for at least the games I've played, I don't know, a couple dozen at this point, units breaking hasn't been a huge thing, but they've been smaller games and bigger games. This might be more meaningful, but you know it's going to happen unless they're just slaughtering units wholesale. And if that's happening, you have whole other problems on your hands. But assuming you still have units there, you're going to have some units that run. And then being able to, especially in this, since you want to run potentially a gun line, being able to shoot or, charge is honestly really big. For the generic, since either side could take it, it is pretty nice. If I was loyalist, I don't know. In a bigger game, I'd probably run this over Burden of Kings, but in smaller games, I think Burden of Kings is better. Because I want that.
That's true. Aegis does scale nicely.
Yes.
But Burden starts out just strong.
Yeah. If I'm sub, I don't know, maybe 2,000 points, Aegis of Wisdom, again, it depends on your opponent. If your opponent is running a lot of stuff with fear, sure, because maybe you're running more often. But just assuming an average game, I want a lot of points, a lot of units before I'm going to start feeling like my guys potentially running and me being able to stop that is going to be ever so useful. All right. How about the Traitor trait?
Pride's Dark Power. This is a weird one. So, Traitor only. Once per battle, a warlord with this trait may, start of any one phase in either player's turn, replace his toughness characteristic with his leadership characteristic. So if your warlord leadership 10, they're now toughness 10 for that phase.
All right.
And then you get an extra reaction in the assault phase.
This is fucking great.
I could only the only way I could explain this is it's it's the end of Gladiator when who is it? Commodus, right?
Commodus,
Yeah.
yep.
Commodus is like fighting against what's his name? And it's like I can't die here. I'm too important. I'm too important. And then he ends up dying anyway. But for that fight, he's alive a lot longer than he should be, considering his lack of spine. I
really like this one.
It's funny when it works.
Yes.
It's really funny. You're going to feel really bad if you get shot by a las cannon right before you pop it. But if you pop this and then get hit with the las cannon, it's hilarious. It's actually a great counter to Fury of the Ancients.
Yes.
Actually, yeah.
And it's the big thing I like about this, because I've been running one of the Dark Angels, Seneschal of the Keys, I think it is. And it's okay, in one of my turns I choose to use it, I get some cool benefits. But I have to do it in my turn. And sometimes, it can give me like +1 weapon skill. But if you've charged me, well, it's not doing me any good, because it's only exactly one of my own turns. This being able to say, it's the assault phase. You got an auto in charge. You're totally there. Your guys are set to double me out because you got, like, say, a lot of power fists or something like that in that unit. I'm gonna be toughness 10. You're gonna wound me on 6s with that, and I'll take a few wounds on it because I'm not gonna die from it. I think it's hilarious.
No, it's by all means amazing.
And then the assault phase. If I see this much better in terms of assault rather than shooting.
Oh, absolutely. Because you use majority toughness if it's mixed scores.
Yes. So I mean, like, to me, you also get your reaction in the assault phase. So if you want to run a little bit more assault focused or have some bigger assault elements and you're running Traitor, I think this one would be a lot of fun. And since you only have the other option of Aegis of Wisdom, it's not a bad choice to pick this one if you're doing Traitor. I think it's both fun and could do you a lot of good when you truly need it.
Oh, okay. Stupid question.
Okay.
What Ultramarines became Traitor in the book? Because I'm trying to really figure out who became Traitor.
I couldn't name you individuals, but every legion had some go one way or the other.
Okay.
It mentions in the fluff for this that even with all their successes and how big of a kingdom they made, some of them felt they never got the praise that they should have. So it would be prideful ones who said, like, we've raised essentially a second empire and, we're beholden to Terra over there. Like, they may not, I almost see it in my mind as it's not that they're siding with Horus. There's or maybe I mean they might say that, but to me it's more of like they're siding with themselves. Like this is our. I think it even says in there. It's like, this was their chance to gain dominion, like they feel they should. It's Horus isn't right, but the Emperor's not right either, and this is the perfect time to prove that we're the ones who should be controlling everything. So
interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's got a strong Dornian heresy vibe to it.
Yes.
If you're at all familiar with that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think it fits that. I think it fits that idea more than we want to worship chaos or we think chaos is good. Like, no,
That's where I was coming from. Okay.
no. I think it's a little bit differently intended, or at least that's how I see it. But if I haven't read, I don't know, like the 100 books of the heresy, however many it is now, there's probably one with an Ultramarine who's worshiping like Slanesh or something. If you look enough,
yeah. I swear to God, I think it's even like 200 now. It's ridiculous.
It's crazy. One of these days. All right. Well, it seems like we actually like the only ones, the loyalist only or traitor only. Again, Ages of Wisdom isn't bad, but the other ones are more fun. Take one of the other ones; they're more fun.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
All right.
Like,
go ahead.
Yeah. No, I said no. I was going to agree with you. It's not that it's bad. It's just the other one's great.
Yeah, they are both good and more fun. So if for all intents and purposes, if you can take something that seems more fun, not to your big detriment, do it. All right, Armory. There are 3 things. Does anyone want to talk about any of them in particular?
I'll take the Legatine Axe only because I remember it during playtest, and it's still good, but I want to compare it because it was really funny.
So good.
But before you get to the Axe, one quick thing. So, this, let me see. Let me do this. Yeah. Okay. For anyone following along, we're on page 294, page 295. Why is it on 2 pages?
Oh, I have no idea.
I could explain it to you right now. It's because on the left page 294, there's an awesome picture of a thunderhammer wielding Ultramarine Cataphracti with a combi grenade launcher, and that's the only example I think I've ever seen of a combi grenade launcher. And they wanted to give it the attention it deserves.
You're right. None of it touches the picture because all of it will fit on 1 page. I measured it off of this same text. It will absolutely fit on the page. But okay, that's acceptable. Talk about the Legatine X. It bugged me.
Of course. Legatine X. So in the playtest, I remember a lot of people were a bit salty at how good this axe was. And now come the actual final release, it's still great, just heavily toned down. Still an amazing axe, though. So, model with the independent character, and of course, Ultramarine special rule may exchange its power axe, for a Legatine axe for plus 5 points a model. Essentially, it is exactly a power weapon. It's a strength user, AP2 melee weapon. So it's an at initiative AP2 weapon.
Old school power weapons. Yep. I dig.
Yeah. It is an old school power weapon.
It's just ignores armor saves. That's all.
Yep, that's all it is.
It's nice because it's at initiative.
Fun fact, in the playtest, it had Murderous Strike 5 up.
And that was absolute bullshit.
Yeah, that was horse shit.
I'll put it this way. I would have been fine if they did that, but they got to make it more than plus 5 points and replacing a power axe.
Oh, yeah.
Because in Dark Angels, we can do that to an extent with our weapons, but it replaces a power fist. So for some models, that's either a 10 point or on like some of them, like a Consular sort of thing, it's a 25 point upgrade. Okay, if I'm spending that much, sure. I would be fine with the Murder Strike as they up the cost. Don't replace the axe because usually, your power weapon is free.
You're also AP3 base with the Dark Angels.
That is true.
This is AP2 base. So
oh yeah.
Your base swing is weaker than this. So
yeah.
even if you'd have to have some sort of downside backing up, like unwieldy or something.
With it being strength user, no. In my mind, no, just because so much of this game is at strength 4, toughness 4, which means I'm only getting through on 4s. Yeah, if they gave it any bit of strength, absolutely. But without an increase of strength, if they up the points, I could see it. But this is what they gave them. And AP2, even at your strength, that initiative is huge because this is on your independent character. You got a lot of swings. You might just need 1 or 2 of them to connect to get through. Steve, which of the other 2 do you want to talk about? You like shields and stuff. don't you?
I do like
Good.
shields.
You can compare it well to other
Shield
shields.
walls are probably like one of the best aesthetics you could ever have, and an anachronism of just giant boarding shields and power armor. It's beautiful. So the Argyrum pattern boarding shield. Argyrum.
Argyrum.
I would say
or
Argyrum.
Argyrum. It's
Argyrum.
Let's go with
most
Argyrum.
likely. But again, it's GW. As that caveat,
That's okay.
it is GW.
Argyrum, I think it sounds cool.
So independent character, independent character Ultramarines that are not unique can take one for 15 points. You get a 5 invulnerable save against shooting attacks and a 4 up in close combat. That's nice. They don't stack with other invulnerable saves and cannot be modified by other special rules. So no, your Master of the Forge with this is not going to have a 3 up in combat. Sorry. If you have other vulnerable saves, you have to select which one to use. And you have normal boarding shield downside of you can't use two-handed weapons. But you still get to use 2 different weapons. You have 2 different weapons, and you don't gain heavy.
Yeah. It doesn't give you any of those other minuses.
I like this a lot. This is strong. I mean, I like the heavy rule. It's just fun to be re-rolling saves on stuff, but this is solid. I take this.
Caveat, I hate the heavy rule. As Myrmidon's not able to run up the board is painful. It's super painful.
But it's a balance. That's really why they do it.
It is. No, I know. I'm just saying, he's like, I love the heavy roll. I'm like, I've been shot. I like the shield a lot, though. Is this the one? So, little side note. Is this the shield that the Suzerain? Let me just scroll down.
I believe.
What is it? Argyrum?
Yes.
Argyrum?
Yeah, it's the one
It
that
is.
Suzerain's carry.
It is? Okay, good. Oh, yeah, then I definitely definitely. In fact, again, Suzerain and people's, because Fulmentarus are not a Forge-World model, but Suzerain are definitely one of the reasons why Ultramarines are on like the top 3 of what I wanted to do. Yeah. The Suzerains look beautiful.
I'm not huge on it for my independent characters. I ran into the same problem with the one Praetor that I built, and because this guy came with a shield, he could put a pistol on him, but it looked dumb, and I put the shield on because it looks awesome. But he already had an invul, so it didn't help that part. And I don't know, maybe your Centurion, because he could be an independent character if you want to put it on there. Like, it can look really cool, but for what it gives you, it's not giving you anything better so much than what they have.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you don't really put this on a Praetor.
No, I wouldn't even necessarily put
Praetor
on Centurion.
has
It's getting me an extra.
Centurion has a 5 up or
5
4
up.
5 up.
5 up all the time. So this would be 15 more points to get a 4 up in close combat.
It's an amazing choice on a Legion champion.
Yes.
Who is like a Praetor cheap, because it gives them the better invulnerable save where they're, want to be.
I mean, to be fair, and I know that, I think Legions can't take this special word here. Cyber Familiar is 15 points.
Yeah, only Iron Hands get that.
Yes.
Okay, so Cyber Familiar is 15 points, and that's basically a +1 to your invulnerable save, and I think it's like reroll dangerous test, but whatever. But it's basically a +1 to your invulnerable save. So,
but that's more worth it to me.
Kind of a +1 in close combat.
Yeah, so in close combat, where your Cyber Familiar, if you take that, could give you a 3 up all the time. I
meant for the Centurion. I meant for the Centurion, not the.
But then I'm a 4 up all the time instead of a 4 up sometime.
True. Okay.
Now again, they don't have that as an option. I'm not big on the boarding shields on the independent characters. I think it works well in the units, and then if you want them to match, it's not a bad thing.
This is visually so pretty.
That is the problem. It is. This stuff can look very good, so you may not want it, but it looks nice.
Like, look at them. Look at the fucking shields on these Suzerain. Oh my god.
All right, so the Mantles of Ultramar, the last armory piece that they have here. So one of your Praetors in the detachment, Ultramarines, of course, can exchange their Artificer armor for one of the Mantles of Ultramar for 25 points. It's a 2 up save. In addition, it gives you Battle Hardened 1, which means for instant death purposes, you count as 1 higher. and you are not affected by blind. I don't.
Ooh.
Well, actually, you know what? I will say,
Fluff is kind of cool. It's ancient tech they found on a space hulk on the Eastern Fringe.
Oh, that is actually neat.
Oh, that's kind of nice.
I
don't think it's rules-wise the strongest thing.
No.
Although Battle Hardened 1's really nice. Because it protects you against, what's it called? Power Fists and even the Dreadnought Fists. Not the Chain Fists, but the regular fists.
Yeah. Yeah, Thunder Hammers. It protects you. You're going to survive a lot better from it. It assumes you're taking your Praetor in the Artificer armor, and he's not taking some form of Terminator armor. So, assuming you're doing that, because I've been taking them more as Terminators. But assuming you're doing that, it's good. I don't really care so much about the blind. Like, it's a nice to have, but that you don't take it for that. The Battle Hardened, because there's a lot of times when if your Praetor doesn't kill them out, you die. Because they're going to hit you with an attack. It doesn't matter how many wounds you have, because they're hitting you with a strength 8 or 9. So
I would have loved to see it have like an additional thing. Because again, the 2-up armor save, if you're giving it to something, he's got a 2-up armor save, I think, right? Doesn't the Praetor have a 2-up armor save?
Yes, because he's an Artificer.
The only reason they specify is because it says you've replaced Artificer armor.
Yeah, they have to tell you.
Oh, okay.
Just to reaffirm, you still have a 2-up.
Oh, got it. Okay, that makes sense.
It's essentially 25 points for Battle Hardened 1, and you don't care about blind.
The blind.
I don't know if that's enough to make me care about it. If you happen to have the spare points and you're taking a Praetor in Artificer armor, yeah, absolutely. But I don't think when I build them, we might have to do a separate one of these days on sort of building. When I build, I kind of build my HQ stuff first. Because I figure out how am I going to start there, and then I fill in from that. If this was me, I wouldn't put this on the guy to begin with. Like, maybe later at the end if I got spare 25, but it's not getting built onto him. But,
no, I agree.
Yeah.
Backing a little bit, I just realized you could take the boarding shield on Terminators. If you wanted a Tartaros Terminator with a 4-up, because they normally have a 5-up, right?
Yeah, they're 5-up all the time, so you could be a 4-up in
a Tartaros Centurion or Praetor with a 4-up in combat. Yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, the one extra can be big.
The mantles is not super enticing.
No.
It's neat. The fluff is cool, but it's not like oh my god, yes, I'm gonna use this. Unless you specifically deal with constant strength 8 attacks.
Yeah.
And then you just say, nah, you know what? I'm Trader Ultramarines, and I believe in Pride's dark power.
That one's more fun. Do it that way. Don't give yourself +1 toughness for instant death purposes. One time, make yourself toughness 10 and just win. Make sure you win that time. All right. Other than the axe, we seem a little bit mixed on the other things, but that's fine. So we start getting to units. Now, book-wise, they only have 2 units. We will start with those 2. But then after that, we're going to go through any units that they have from either legacies, as well as the unit that they have. What's the name of the other one? Exemplar?
Exemplar, yes.
Yeah. So we are going to go through this, but we'll start with the ones in the book. Does anyone have a particular unit that they want to talk about?
I want Fulmentarus or Suzerain. Either one makes me happy. They're both awesome.
Suzerain are next. So why don't you just do those now?
All right. So Suzerain, 175 points for 5 models. You're looking at a pretty elite stat line. Movement 7, weapon skill 5. They got a 4 strength, toughness 4, 2 wounds, initiative 4, 3 attacks each. A little spicy right there. They are leadership 9 and a 2-up save because they have Artificer armor. Now here's where it gets sexy, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, lo and behold, they have line.
Yep.
They are native line units as elites. They're heavy, and they're also characters, every single one of them.
That's huge.
Yeah, these guys are pretty freaking awesome. And they look sweet. They look mwah. So, they're armed with a bolt pistol. Who gives a shit? Although, side note, the bolt pistol is modeled into the shield, which is pretty damn awesome. Because some people are like, well, they got a shield and an axe, a legatine axe. How do they shoot their... It's actually modeled into their shield. They have a guy... Whatever the hell we called it. The Argyrum pattern boarding shield.
You're the one who decided how to say it.
I know, but it's. I want to say it so much.
Argyrum.
They are Lords of Ultramar, and they're honor bearers. So, They could take a Proteus carrier as a dedicated transport. That's pretty much it. What's funny is the barrier as well. They're actually cheap to upgrade. It's only 30 points more per upgrade.
Per guy, that's I guess if you're looking at them similar to Terminator, because they kind of are since they have the shield.
They basically are.
Then yeah, they're on the cheaper end because they look like a Terminator.
What's even cheaper and
what's even spicier characters, which is
exactly
interesting.
What's even
spicier, God, they're all characters.
Yes, they are. You can literally spread the wounds, and they're line, Steve. They're line. They can also make a Thunderhammer for 10 points each, which is, I think, the cheapest I've seen a Thunderhammer, to be quite honest.
Just about, yeah.
I'd like to retire.
Oh, you're fine.
So, any friendly unit made entirely by models with the infantry, cavalry, which is not pinned or falling back, and does not include a model with the special rule, gains a +1 modifier to their leadership characteristics, while at least one model within 6 inches of a friendly model. You pass on a +1 leadership modifier to people around you. That's
to
the
a maximum of 9. Yeah.
To a maximum of 9. Apologies. Yes. And then honor bearers. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I believe it's a retinue squad.
Yeah. For the Master of the Legion, they can be retinue.
And hold on, and you can get a Legion standard for +15 points, replacing
your already line.
So wait, not only are you line, but you're also line.
I know, exactly. I don't know why that's in there, but whatever.
It's so you have a 6-inch 10 leadership 10 bubble. That's all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
kind
I mean,
pricey for it.
That's really it. They're very small, not a small unit, but like a very small page and a lot of different rules. But they do their job well. You stick them in a Land Raider and you drive them forward, and they just fuck shit up. I mean, they are insanely good. Like, if someone has that objective and you really want it, you just send a Suzerain squad after them, to be quite honest. And they're actually not that expensive to max out. I don't even know if you want to toss a Thunderhammer in them.
You might want to.
Sure, someone has a Contemptor.
Couple in case of dread.
Yeah, in case of dreads.
The other
that's
thing
what I'm
is
thinking.
To
but
keep
honestly,
in mind, like, yes, your axe is AP too, but it's also at your strength, which if you're going against, let's say, toughness 4 things, half of what you get through is doing nothing. So you might even want a couple Thunderhammers just to help make sure that you can chew through a heavier target, even if it's not a Contemptor. If you go against a giant squad of Terminators, those guys are also 2 wounds. You know, you're not going to be as effective on those saves. A couple Thunderhammers, now you're brutal. Now I'm going to really cut down those Terminators on you. I
should point out, I know we're talking about the rights later on a different video, but they pair very well with the Rights of War as well.
The Right of War.
We'll talk about that much later. Right of War, sorry, the one Right of War. But they pair very well with the Right of War. These guys are great. 175 points, super cheap. Not super cheap, but these guys work. I can also see it for those who play Zone Mortalis. Please include at least a squad of these or more, because now you're entering the ability of Zone Mortalis, where you can't shoot through walls, obviously, and so you can kind of strategically plan where to place these guys. I like these guys a lot. They're very nice.
Honestly, though, overall for what they do, they are very cheap, as you mentioned. So they're all characters. Remember, when you start taking wounds, the same model has to keep taking them till they die, unless you're a character. These guys are characters. You can absolutely spread it around a bit. Yeah. So part of their point cost is, in my mind, because of that. Because they don't die quite as fast. You've really got to start putting wounds down or doubling them out with instant death sort of things.
And they're only 325 for a max squad, which is, again, the lower end of maxing a squad.
I'm never big on maxing squads, but this might be a spot where I would, for the only reason being that since they're line is not nearly as important as it used to be overall, but it is still something. And if you can max out a good line unit that can stand up to anything, that is worthwhile.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these are cool.
So I have a question here for their boarding shields.
Yeah.
Normal boarding shields means you can't get the bonus for having 2 weapons. Do their boarding shields have the same rule?
No.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Just can't use 2-handed with them. So they absolutely have 4 attacks.
Yeah, because that's what I was looking at. I was on the page. It's on page 141.
Oh,
it's about boarding shields.
get more attacks than a
Yeah, I'm looking at boarding. Yeah, it has no restriction
when
on
you
that.
look up in page 141 War Gear, combat shields and boarding shields, it mentions those two parts. You can't get the bonus for having more than one melee weapon or make attacks with two weapons. It mentions all that. In their entry, it doesn't. I would like to see an FAQ that just says, yeah, we didn't miss it. Like, it's a special boarding shield. Only read the rule here. Because I could absolutely see someone say, well, it's a boarding shield. Boarding shields have certain restrictions. So I would say, yeah, you absolutely get it. But I would love for them to come out and say, yes.
Is a Thunderhammer a specialist weapon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But that one you're not as worried about.
But 3 attacks base is no joke.
3 attacks base is...
And you're at weapon skill 5. So you're at that better amount. And if I'm strength 8, I'm not so worried about being 1 less attack. Strength 8 at 1 less attack is better than 1 extra attack at base strength. So, yeah, I would swap out a few. Make yourself really hit.
I would do the old trick of the Custodes. 1 Thunderhammer for every 2 to 3 axes.
All right. So, we are on to the Praetorian Breacher Squad. These guys are more shield boys. So, Steve, do you want to take them because they're more about shields?
Oh, yeah. So Praetorian Breachers, they start at 135 points. You get 5 guys. They're an elite's choice. It is a veteran squad stat line without leadership ups on the unit leader, from what I could tell, and without the bonus attack. So basically, it's weapon skill 5, 2 wound, leadership 8 Marines. They all get a power sword, a bolt pistol, a boarding shield, frag and crack grenade, and power armor. They are heavy. They are also line, and the squad leader is a character, not the entire unit this time. But they are chosen warriors, so anyone can take a challenge, and they have Hammer of Wrath 1, so that free body slam attack on the charge. They can take Gladiator Proteus carriers as a transport. You can take up to 5 extra guys for 22 points a guy. One could take a Nuncio Vox. One could take a Vexilla. Every 5, one of them could swap out their power sword for the axes, the fancy Ultramarines Legatine axe. The unit leader could take a power fist or the axe. He could upgrade to have a plasma pistol or artificer armor. Well, and artificer armor. They're both options. Very straightforward unit. It's an elite breacher, which I like. It's veteran breachers, which is something I absolutely want in every legion. But they are missing the bolter. So it's another close combat sword and board unit, except these guys are actually swords, unlike the Invictarus Suzerains. 40 points less, but you lose the 2-up armor, and you lose a point of invulnerable in close combat.
And you don't get the bonus anymore for having the bolt pistol and power sword, because they're normal boarding shields.
And they have so many else attacks. I would pay the extra 8 points a guy and just upgrade them. It's a cool unit, but I would just pay extra 8 points a guy. You don't need the Vexilla that much, and you could get 2 more attacks a model. 3 more attacks a model.
Yeah. And on a better leadership.
Neat, but it's a miss. This is balanced properly, I think. Points-wise, I think this is a great balancing point.
Yeah, they're very lackluster.
This unit reads balanced all around. They're very, very balanced. And then you have the Suzerains. So, yeah. It's, I think the biggest crime is that it's the same page spread for these 2 units.
And same slot. The same
If
they give the Praetorians, say, troop, okay, because the line who we care about then because they're slowly troop, something like that. Now it gets interesting because, they're a little different than normal breachers. These are your dedicated breachers. Do you like them better? Being an elite as well, yeah, if you got the points, take the other unit. Take the Suzerains. The only thing these guys have as a bonus is Hammer of Wrath. Really. The axes, you could swap to the axes for 5 points each, so you can get them. If you actually do it on the whole unit, they're close to the Suzerain, but they still miss a couple big pieces.
And these guys have nothing to answer a Dreadnought besides, the Sergeant has a power fist.
Their own death. That's how they answer it.
I mean, I guess they'll be rending on the 6s they roll to wound.
Yeah.
Yay. Yeah. Sorry, Chief. This unit ain't
it. There's just... They gave them something a little different than the base squad, but not interesting enough to run them instead of the base squad. or instead of the Suzerain, so instead of their special squad. Because they're in the same squad, the same position. They're both elite, so they're competing with one another. And I don't, unfortunately, it's not much of competition unless you just like them. And that's fine. If you just like it, go for it. All right. That was pretty fast because I don't think we have any much more to say about them. Let's go to some of their other units. So for the next unit, this is going to be out of their exemplary units. This is their Nemesis. Yep.
Page 9.
So yes, page 9 out of the exemplary units. This is the one they get here. This is their Nemesis Destroyer Squad. It's 165 points for 10 guys. Let's see. Standard all the way across for a normal destroyer. Let me just flip quickly to where it's.
No.
They have one. Because destroyers are what? Two or 2-3?
Two base. It's 2-3. Yeah, for the destroyers.
Okay. When I was looking at the stat line, it looked very similar to this what you might call standard Marine stat line, but
it is the bog standard Bolter
Yes,
Marine
you're right.
stat line.
Yeah, that is the actual one difference there. So it's the move 7, weapon skill, blitz skill, strength, toughness 4s, all that, a wound, initiative 4, same sort of saves. Although, yeah, they're 1/2 attacks instead of 2/3 for the normal. And these guys are 60 points more, although there's 10 of them instead of the 5. So let's see the other things they get. They got a mortar bolter. They have a bolt pistol, chainsword. They got frag crack, rad grenades, and power armor. Most of that is similar, although your normal destroyer squads have 2 bolt pistols. These guys have 1 with their chainsword, but they also have this special bolter, which we'll go through in a moment. They are infantry, of course, so they have stubborn, which is what they have counterattack, bitter duty. All of that's the same. They are Ultramarines. They can take rhinos. They can take termite assault drills. They can take Land Raider Proteuses.
Oh yeah.
I did start looking at some of those drills from whatever the one company is that you mentioned, and I'm like, I might need to get some of those drills.
Those drills. Okay, so side note, drills are awesome, and I'm kind of sad Mechanicum can't take them. They used to.
I mean, it's on the website. It's still on the Forge World website, which is the biggest. It's the biggest fuck you.
There's a picture in the book, which makes it even worse. Because I know someone who owns like 12 of them and plays Mechanicum.
Get real armies.
Anyway,
so you can get 10 more of them. You can go up to that big old squad of 20, 15 points a guy. They can take the Vasilla, Nunzio-Vox. And here's where I think they really do start to change, because normal destroyers they have some of these options, but they're usually a lot more restricted. This almost fits a little bit more like the way the veterans do. For every 5, one of them can change their bolter out for essentially all the different special weapons. With a little bonus, like they can actually even take a last cutter and all. Where if you look at normal destroyers, it's for every 5, one of them can do it, but it's a much shorter list. So these guys have a few extra options.
What's a last cutter?
It's in the book.
A last cutter's a joke. Don't worry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
it's a meme.
Sergeant can swap out his chainsword for power weapons, power fists, lightning claws, thunder hammers, all those cool things. He can get an artificer armor. He can take a phosphex bomb. He can take phosphex bombs or melta bombs. Some of those options are similar, although the base doesn't. The entire unit can get melta bombs and a normal destroyer. Here it's just the sergeant, although they do not get to take phosphex normally. So he does. Oh no, sorry. Yeah, they can take 1. So either way, it's 1. So
that missile launcher is cheap.
Yes, 10 points. Yeah, that actually is pretty cheap.
It's normally
25
20, right?
For the one that has Suspenser and Rad. Is this one Suspenser and Rad? Yeah.
Yup.
Yeah, normally it's 25 on that unit.
Wow, that is so cheap. Wow.
They have good options.
The 1 in 5 Volkite's a terrible option. Las Cutter, to explain what a Las Cutter is real fast for Dan. It shoots 8 inches at strength 10 AP 1, Armor Bane, or it fights in close combat at strength 7, Unwieldy, Cumbersome, meaning get a single attack weapon skill 1.
Yeah, but what, strength 10 AP 1 though? Hello, hold up. Is it heavy?
At 8-inch range.
Oh, go fuck. That's
you gotta get in range to use it. It's so hard.
Strength 10 AP 1.
Well, fuck? Okay. The profile is nice, but the range is going to hamper you a lot. It is.
Again,
it doesn't make it bad, but it's going to be very tough to use. Although some of the other ones aren't necessarily far range. Like
actually in Ultramarines is a lot more reliable than normal. Like, yeah, you're going to roll the 1 or the 2. But the +1 to hit actually would be really nice.
With them, it could be worth it.
For the one time per game you get to use it. Because you're only using that thing once a game.
2, Overwatch.
I was counting Overwatch, Dan.
All right, I was counting shooting.
Let's take a look at what their bolter is, because that's the other thing about them. So, this mortar bolter, fire bolter, my apologies. 18-inch range, so 6 inches less. Strength 4, AP 5, that's the same. It's Assault 2, which is pretty nice, and Harrower.
Okay.
Harrower says that any unit from which a model is removed as a casualty during the shooting phase as a result of an attack from a weapon with a special rule must take a morale check as if they had suffered 25% casualties. So if any model gets removed, you're going to have to take a morale check no matter how many actually die.
It's nice if you're trying to pick on big units that have poor leadership, because the big units kind of a little bit of resistance against shooting phase morale checks. Because, I got 20 models, you got to kill 5 before you're forcing a check. This goes, nah, I just got to kill 1.
Why would I take normal destroyers, so normal Mortalis destroyers, instead of these guys? Yes, these guys are 60 points more, but you get the full squad of 10. They have more options. The other guys, okay, they have the 2 bolt pistols, but that's not more shots than the bolter will have. And you can still assault with it, so I'm okay with that. You're still getting the extra attack. I guess the big thing is the attack. These guys are down in attack.
You are losing an attack, but honestly, it's a squad-wide melted bomb. It's the only thing you might possibly miss.
Yeah, the
Nemesis destroyers are just, they're nice. They're really nice.
Contemptor charges 10 Marines with 10 melta bombs. That's a scary thing. A Contemptor charges this, less scary.
Yeah. But honestly, I like these guys for them. For the other things they can take, I would absolutely take this instead of the normal destroyers. I like what this does, and I'm getting a discount because I can get 10 guys for 60 points more.
Now, weird rules question, interaction. So Harrower says that at the end of the shooting phase, this causes someone to be a casualty. Take a morale check as if they suffered casualties. Does that override the base reactions don't cause morale checks? Or no, because it doesn't specifically override it? I assume the override stays in place.
It says during the shooting. Oh, you're talking about like a shoot.
Like return fire.
One other quick thing while you mention that. So I said these guys are at a discount. They're technically not. If you go to a 10-man squad, they would both be the same cost. Because looking at now, the other destroyers are 12 points a guy. But you could have 10 versus 10 of the same size. I kind of like these guys more. But yeah, at the same points cost. Oh, okay. So literally point for point, 1 less attack, but I like their range weapons better, and I like their options a bit more. And some options are cheaper. Okay, so getting back to your Harrower thing. I
think it does override it. And my only premise for that, by the way, because the 2 rules quite literally do not the 2 rules basically contradict each other. Which suck. And so the only thing that I have a premise for you saying the rule is an old GW rule that says like special Legion rules or your special rules override the big red rule book. I forgot what that was for. I think it was for fantasy.
All their books have always said that. Every single one of them. Yeah. Okay. They always.
Right. So that's the only thing I have.
They have to have a rule like that because otherwise your Legion rules don't work. Because all of your Legion rules break the standard rules of the game. That's the whole point.
Exactly.
I'm sure this has the same rule somewhere. I don't know exactly where it is. But I'm sure they have the same rule in here.
That's the reason I say that. So I would say yes, on a reaction, and if they shoot back...
You know what? I'm going to say it does not work because of the as if they suffered casualties. The 25%. Because, if I remember correctly, the reaction thing says regardless of casualties, you don't take morale checks. I'm going to double check that, but I'm inclined to say it does not override.
We were doing so well.
I would say, to me at least for the moment, I absolutely want to see an FAQ on this. For me, for the moment, I would say yes, because to me this is a special rule overriding a base style rule. Because it's saying you must take a morale check like you had suffered those casualties. Unless, does the other one say never? How's it actually, what's the actual wording?
Oh, okay. So I pulled up in the main rulebook, page 159. Paragraph 1, 2, 3. Shooting attacks made as part of a reaction do not cause leadership tests due to casualties inflicted upon enemy units. Really limit the reactions reacting to future turns or phases, blah, 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 blah. Because they do not cause leadership tests due to casualties, I'm inclined to say they do not take the morale check because it's an as if they suffered a certain number.
Yeah.
And the as if thing, the trigger,
I agree.
Doesn't apply.
I would say, actually, off that reading, since it says you don't take them off of casualties, and this says you treat it, essentially, you treat it as if you had taken a morale check amount worth of casualties, I would say no.
Yeah, I agree then. I didn't realize that's what it said specifically. Okay. So then I'm less happy with these guys.
No, I still like them.
Really good. I don't care about... I'm not as worried about the dumb reactions.
I think the strongest draw of this unit, honestly, is if they ever come back in stock again. You just grab a Mark IV squad, paint them black with blue detailing, and go, bam, here's my destroyers. They even have missile launchers in the box.
Do they?
They have every one of these weapons except the Graviton gun, the Las Cutter, and the Volkite Charger in that. Oh, and the Thunderhammer.
Don't take Graviton guns. Just for the sheer fact that they're blast. I hate it.
Well, no, the Graviton gun you don't want to take because it's heavy and blast.
Oh, is it heavy?
It is heavy, Dan. Right. You don't know that because you don't play a real army that understands the concept of a heavy type weapon.
Point for point.
But no, they are heavy. Actually, I think the other destroyers get suspensors on their Graviton guns.
On the Graviton guns, no.
Or is the veterans that
on
do?
On the
no
missile launcher. I'll check it. I think I just dropped the other book I wanted. I only dropped it half on a toe though, so it's mostly okay. I need to just get the digital version of this so I don't have like multiple books that I'm flipping through.
Yep,
you did it because you did.
I couldn't get the mechanical hard copy anyway. Exactly, but I'm starting to see why.
Yes, it does have the suspensor weapon.
So the Mortalis does get suspensors. So for half range, you could fire on the move. 9 inches is very short, but honestly, being able to fire Graviton on the move is very appealing. These guys don't get that option. So if you have Dreadnought problems, go with the Mortalis. If you don't, go with the Nemesis.
If that's the gun that you want, take the other unit. If not, this one. Or if you want to get cheaper, because you could, at least for the other one, it's less guys, but you could still just get a five-man unit, so you could get out of there for less price.
Nah, the 5-man units evaporate.
They do, but sometimes that's what you got.
I love destroyers. Yeah.
Also, I was gonna say, if you have Dreadnought problems, you take a Fulmentarus. You don't need Grav.
I don't recognize this unit's existence, Dan.
All right. What?
Oh, we're gonna see so much salt in a couple seconds.
It's not. Salt.
Shall we move to the Fulmentarus?
If they're good, they're good.
Oh, and these guys don't get disintegrators. If you want to play with disintegrators and toxic veterans.
There's a little bit of weapon differences between the two, but I think the Graviton's probably the worthwhile difference. All right, Dan, you can talk about the Fulmentarus.
Yep. Oh God. So, slight note why I love these guys so much.
Hold on. Are we just going to disrespect the honored Telemechrus?
Isn't he? Oh, my apologies. He's not a character, is he?
Disrespect upon honored Telemechrus.
Apologies.
Nope, because I've already put it in my notes.
He is.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I looked at my list and I just realized that he was an elite choice, not a character. So we will go back, but we'll do him. We'll go through him real fast in a moment.
So the Fulmentarus. The reason I like them so much is because people have done some crazy, stupid, cool conversions for these, because these actually don't exist in Forge World.
Of course, it has nothing to do with the fact that they're really
people
good.
have done some. Well, no, they were also really good. Side note, but they look really cool. You can make them look real cool. So, 290 points, which is, I think, the highest, right? For a 5-man squad?
For a 5-man, no. That would be Death Shrouds, who are 70 each.
That's right. I forgot about that.
For base sort of size, the way they come, yes.
Yeah. And this is definitely breaching, like, holy shit levels of price. Overall, pretty standard stat line, with the exception of them having ballistic skill 5. They have 2 attacks, 3
That's
attacks,
normal Terminator.
which I think that one's also up on the wall.
Normal Terminator.
Oh, normal Terminator. All right. So they are heavy. Obviously, they're armed with cataphracti Terminator armor. They're armed with a combi bolter, a power weapon. Stupid question. What is this power weapon?
Whatever power weapon you want.
Anything they want. Okay.
Yes. Sword, axe, lance.
If you got the box, two swords.
Did you miss the ballistic skill 5?
He said ballistic skill 5.
Sorry.
I said ballistic 5.
I think we should spend more time on ballistic skill 5. they're ballistic skill 5.
They are 2s, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay,
well, actually, what I will say real quickly, I care less to an extent that the ballistic skill 5, because the base trait in this army is if someone else has shot, you're +1 anyway.
That's why these guys shoot first.
So they can be the ones who shoot first, but if they weren't 5, I don't suddenly think they're like, oh man, it's not changing much in my mind. Like, I'm okay with them at 4 or 5. I don't think it's much of a difference.
So they are armed with combi bolter, power weapon, Fulmentarus missile launcher with splinter and hellfire plasma missiles. They have a Paratarch targeter. They are relentless, obviously, inexorable, bulky 2, and firing protocols 2, so they can fire 2 weapons. I believe they can take the Proteus carrier. They can also take a Legion Dreadclaw drop pod. That's interesting. Okay, this is getting sexier. I didn't even think about the Dreadclaw, but now that you put it in there. And then you could take a Spartan if they number 5 or more. Each additional Fulmentarus Terminator is 55 points a model. They are spicy. You could take a Legion Vixilla for 10 points. Any model in the unit can take a Power Fist for 5 or a Chain Fist for 10.
That's about 5 points cheaper than base on Terminators. Yeah, it's usually 10
is. Okay, that is cheaper. Okay. That's what I thought. Okay. My brain kind of went, but Thunderhammer is usually 15,
Thunderhammer and Chain Fist are often the same price on Terminator style bodies. Not always, but usually the same.
Okay. So you get so you do get a little tiny cheap introduction. Okay, that's not bad. So let's talk about I can hear Steve Salt. So the Fulmentarus missile array. They are missile weapons. The Splinter missile is a missile weapon, but the Hellfire plasma is a missile and plasma weapon, in case you're a Salamanders player. So the Splinter missiles are 36-inch range, strength 5, AP 5, heavy 4, breaching 6 up, and pinning. Okay, not bad. 4 shots, strength 5, AP 5. Maybe you
breaching and
those are good missiles.
Yeah, so
really nice.
Yeah, those are good missiles. But hold on. Hellfire plasma.
The salt's not strong enough yet.
The salt's not 24 inches, strength 8, AP 2, heavy 1, brutal 2.
I hate this unit with a burning passion.
Flying thunderhammers. They literally shoot thunderhammers. Pew! I think thunderhammers are brutal 2.
Yeah. That's exactly a thunderhammer in a Marine's hands.
Yep. They shoot a 24-inch thunderhammer. Which is why when people are saying, if you have contemptor problems, I feel bad for you, son. I have a Fulmentarus missile array.
I don't think you would. Read their targeter rule. Just that way we have them all said and done.
Yes, of course. Oh, yeah, of course. Their targeter array. A unit that includes at least one model with the Paratarch targeter may activate...
the whole unit has, by the way.
Yes, the whole unit, I should say, yes. At the start of any of their own turns before any models are moved. Once the Paratarch targeter is activated, the unit affected may not move. You can't move, but you gain the guided fire and the night vision special rule until the start of the controlling player's next turn. A unit that has activated a Paratarch targeter may not make any reactions other than the interceptor or overwatch reaction, unless it can draw a line of sight to the model and the unit that triggered the reaction. In addition, all models in a unit that activate the Paratarch targeter must use the same missile type for the attack made for the duration of the player's turn.
Guided fire just gives you indirect fire on anything, by the way.
Yeah. So basically, for a turn, you can't move, but you gain night vision, and you gain guided fire. And you could also still do interceptor and overwatch. Okay, really quick, I just realized something because of that stupid last sentence. In addition, you have to fire the same missile type. Is that to assume you don't need to fire the same missile type when you don't do this?
Well, normally you have, each shooting attack, you could pick a different weapon type. But this is saying that once you pick a missile type, say you do an interceptor shot, you do the same shot for Overwatch.
But does this mean, like, if I shoot normally, I can do some splinter missiles and some
because
hellfire?
notice earlier it says pick one missile type from the ones below to fire. What this means is if you are firing multiple times in the same turn, you must keep doing the same thing. Yeah, you can't swap.
Oh, got it. Okay. That's why I was like, I'm like, what in the hell? Okay, good. All right, so now that we have everything, these guys are amazing.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
If you're having problems with contemptors, this is your go-to fuck you contemptor, specifically unit. You wound them on 3s. I mean, sure, you only get 5 shots, but you hit on 2s, wound on 3s, and then each of those can spawn 2 wounds. Because they only have a 5-up save, not a 2-up save against this. This is a... hell, you have Terminators? Sorry, I'm not even out.
Don't forget, this will also cause instant death, in addition to
exactly. You got Terminators with multiple wounds? Shoot them. Like, this is brutal too. AP2. This is a very powerful missile. Both gameplay-wise and just fluff-wise. You're shooting a flying Thunderhammer. That's essentially what this is.
Last edition, they had other builds they could take, including all autocannons, which actually seemed kind of fun.
Yes.
These missiles are just mean.
Yeah. They're a bit much, honestly. They really are.
You get a huge discount, by the way, if you max a squad, which is very surprising. I just wanted because just to really quick, it's 275 versus 290. That's a 15-point discount.
That's actually
pretty standard.
Having a sergeant is usually around that sort of amount when you're talking about like Terminator styles.
Oh, okay. Because usually it's like 10 points or 5 points less.
It can be that much. The big thing is they just start off very expensive. Don't get me wrong, they're very good, but they start off at a base 290. So you are spending a lot for these guys.
Yeah. So my counter argument to taking these guys,
because you want to have friends,
them, is that they compete.
Hold on.
Oh, well, no, I was going to say
No, they're not. No, they're not, Dan, because you're going to run Pride of the Legion and break the fucking game.
Oh my god!
You take Pride of the Legion, fill up your troop slots with these assholes, and then fill up your elite slots with Suzerains because they're scoring.
Score that way.
And you just laugh, and then you realize you have no friends because you play Ultramarines.
Hold on a second. I'm just gonna do a little quick.
You're figuring out how to max out squads. That's fine. That's exactly what you're doing.
No.
Remember, the design for the game is not to be spamming and stuff like that. Now, if you're doing like a competitive thing, if you're going to like Nova Open, hey, you got a bunch of these guys, go for it. You're gonna have a good time.
Was it Nova or LVO that did the competitive? Was it Nova or LVO that's doing the competitive?
Actually, 30K? Yeah, it might be LVO. One of them. It'll be a thing out there.
I think it was LVO. Okay. It was green.
Whoever it is, I don't want to go there.
It's green, right?
Yeah, it's
like
okay. It's
green for them.
But here's the other thing. I mean, what I will say so far, as many people as I hear talk about play narrative, this, that, the other thing, how much stuff I see these people talk about, what they want to bring, half of it's not narrative. So, I mean, play your game, but realize these guys, bringing more of these guys is something that will make people say, like, I just don't want to play against you because it won't be fun. You know?
Yeah, no, this is a tough. These guys are, and I don't think they were this powerful in the first edition. I mean, Steve could correct me on this one, but
the fluff only also pisses me off further. Guilliman looked upon Perturabo's creation, and he went, "This is nice, but what if we made it even better?"
Went $6 million man on this stuff. He said, "I can rebuild them stronger, better, faster with bigger weapons."
Yeah, right. These are really good. This brutal doesn't affect like tanks or anything, right? No, it doesn't. I don't think so.
All right. I think that's enough on them because I want us to try and stay in a more positive tone and all. Why don't we go back and talk about that special Contemptor boy? Who wants to talk about Special Contemptor boy?
This beautiful young man. Honored Telemechrus. If I remember correctly, the betrayal account, the original quote-unquote multi-part plastic Contemptor Dreadnought. You get an assault cannon, you get a Gravis Power Fist with the Combi Bolter and automatic deflector. You get Hatred Everything, Loyalist Ultramarines, okay. Unique Dreadnought, okay. Move 8, that's standard. Weapon skill 6, nice little bump there. Strength 7, toughness 7, wound 7, nice little bump there. Initiative 4 attacks for a leadership 10, that's a bump as well. And 2 up base save. It's a Contemptor with some weapons pre-selected for you and hatred, which is really nice. And it's only 240 points. So for
me and Dave
for 65 points and that minus
50,
weapons,
15.
what's this all can? Like 20 points?
So it's essentially 50 more points for an extra weapon skill, an extra wound, an extra attack base, and an extra leadership.
Nice.
And hatred.
And hatred.
And hatred everything. That's honestly not terrible. I'd field that. I would field that.
So why is he not a character? Someone correct me here.
Because characters fight in challenges.
He is unique though, so you can't take more than one. But he's not rules character.
Such a weird.
Well, they didn't want you to be able to take a challenge with a dreadnought, which I don't blame them for. That would be weird.
True. Okay, that makes sense.
Especially because it wouldn't usually mean much of anything. Because if he's the only one in there, everyone gets a swing on him anyway.
I think it's a shame that you can't make him your HQ in a Fury of the Ancients list.
No, you cannot.
Yeah, that would actually be really neat.
But other than that, I think this guy's great. I think fluff-wise, he would fit perfectly into that slot. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know them super well, but he's cool. I'd field him. I think the points are appropriate. I think he'll do great things for you if you field him.
It talks about him in the fluff, like leading charges and different things like this. So it would be really cool if they let him do that. But yeah, if you're taking this Legion, he's a cooler Contemptor. Does he have a particular model, or is it just their Contemptor model? Okay.
It's just the Contemptor model.
Yeah.
That, like I was saying, that the closest we get is in the old Betrayal Calth boxed game. I'm pretty sure they labeled that Dreadnought as like, this is Honor Telemechrus, and you could bring him to the field and you could go stomp on some word bears. Isn't this so much fun?
They're British. That's not how they sound.
What?
Please don't do a British accent. Moving on.
I'm sorry. That was not
I know
me doing an accent. That was me. Never mind.
All right.
His fluff is interesting. He was only fighting for 10 years when he put in a Dreadnought. I guess Dreadnoughts were freely available back then. Wow.
Yeah, that is surprising. I guess maybe they thought he was good enough. Maybe he had impressed everyone enough. He must have. Yeah, he must have done something really cool. All right, we are on to their next unit. Actually, last unit, and then we got some characters. Locutarus. I guess I'll take these guys. Why not? All right, so Locutarus, there are 150 points. You got 5 guys here. Normal movement, so 7. They get the extra weapon skill on 5s. 2 wounds each. Their ability skill, strength, toughness, all standard initiative. 2 and 3 attacks. 3 obviously for their leader. 8, 9 leadership. 2 up save. These guys have bolt pistols. They have Argean. I'm gonna go with Argean. Power sword. Huh? Argean. Yeah, sure. Why not? Argean. They got jump packs. They have their artificer armor and their grenades. They are Ultramarines, of course. Chosen warriors for everyone who is not the strike leader, who is a character. So anyone can take a challenge.
Wait,
that's that's an interesting.
They wanted to give them a leader, to give them a model that has the extra attack, the extra leadership, and all. But they wanted to make sure anyone could take a challenge. So yes, and they had the Blade of Wisdom.
But that so unnecessary.
Hey, your guy with the extra attack doesn't have to be the one in the challenge. That's cool, I guess. So you can take 5 more of them if you want. They're 25 points each, so they max out squad 10. For every 5, one of them can change out a bolt pistol for a plasma pistol, serpentinas, or hand flamers. I wouldn't necessarily do any of those. Although you are at least 2 up save on 2 wounds, so the plasma pistol is not a terrible option. The leader can change out his Argean power sword for lightning claws, legatine axe, power fist, thunder hammers for various costs. He can change out his pistol the same way the other guys did, and he can take melta bombs or a combat shield. for the Blade of Wisdom. So to get into the reasons why you would take these guys, otherwise they're just expensive guys with jump packs. So the Blade of Wisdom, when rolling to hit for a model with the special rule as part of an attack with a weapon that has a melee trait on any turn in which they are part of a successful charge against an enemy unit, add +1 to the results of the roll if the enemy unit targeted by the attack has already been targeted by another friendly unit composed entirely of models that are Ultramarines in the preceding shooting phase. So if someone else shot them in your army and then you charge them, you get +1 what to hit.
To hit on 2s.
Often, not always. Shit. They are weapon skill 5, so they're going to essentially be hitting on 3s or 2s usually. They'll if you're not going against a dedicated, you'll essentially be hitting on 2s.
But all you have to do, it doesn't say even like you have to do shoot.
Someone has to shoot it.
You don't have to like wound it or anything. Right?
It has to be another friendly unit. It can't be them. So they can't shoot and then charge the same thing to get a bonus. Someone else has to shoot them.
Okay. So I could just, again, using the Rhino example, to a dedicated, toss a Stormbolt or whatever they're going to charge. Congratulations. Now you get +1 to hit.
It just says another friendly unit that's Ultramarine. So yeah, you can absolutely fire a Rhino or just some other random stupid gun you don't care about.
Again, you don't even need to hit. Oh no, I missed with my Combi Bolter. Who gives a shit?
For their Gene Power Sword, it is a power weapon.
Ooh,
strength user AP3, melee, rending 5 up. Normally Power Swords are rending 6 up, so it rends a little bit better. And Duelist Edge 1, which is great. So whoever you put in the challenge has a better chance of either swinging before someone or at least swinging at the same initiative as them if you're going at someone else who's like I5 at that point.
Yep. And hitting them most likely better.
A lot of times, yes. Or if you were going against someone who is weapon skill 6, which if you're going against like Praetors and things like that, you'll only be hitting on force. But you'll be hitting better than you would normally. It means you stand a better chance against whatever it is you're going against. But they're probably not the guys based off of their weapons, because only the leader can swap out his close combat weapon. Based off of their weapons, these guys I don't think are for dedicated, close combat units, but they are fast because they're jump packs, so they are very good against the rest of what's out there. Because they'll have a better weapon skill. You can challenge someone, you can swing first. If they're going against normal guys, you're going to be hitting on 2s. You're going to be wounding probably on 4s because there is no bonus to your strength on this. So, yeah, they're really good at cutting through normal guys or more normal-ish units.
If they charge a Dreadnought, they do about 1 wound a guy. But the Dreadnought will then rip them to pieces with its fist, so I don't think that's a worthy trade. I don't think it's worth doing that trade, but, I mean, it's there. A great bullying unit. Pick something and I want to kill that shooty squad, shoot a little bit, charge it, wipe
especially
it out.
Because 2 wounds and Artificer armor. They'll stand up to the shots coming into them to then charge someone.
And what's really great is that Sanguinius himself congratulated the guy that came up with the strategy for this.
I did not.
In case you didn't know. It's in the fluff for the Blade of Wisdom special rule. He's like, wow, Sergeant, that was so amazing. I wish my Legion could do that.
Very cool.
So insufferable.
I mean, anytime you can get guys in jump packs on a 2-up save with multiple wounds is very good. Yeah, that is very good.
You take it. You take it. The only downside is there's no one vulnerable.
So before we get to the special characters, I'm noticing something here. We really like these special units, and I'm almost thinking like you just ignore the normal units and you just kind of take special units here.
Yes.
Welcome to Ultramarines. They are special. They are special snowflakes.
No, you're not. That is to a large extent. You are going to take some regular style units because you're going to either want some big heavy weapon squads or maybe some support squads because the rule works really well with that and that goes well. But you're not taking, your normal jump pack guys. You're not taking, most likely, your normal breachers. You're not taking your normal destroyers. You're taking their special versions for many of these cases.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They're one of the few legions where we've actually liked all their special units. A lot of times we don't.
Yeah.
One of the ones out of the books, out of the book, the Praetorian Breachers, they were nothing to write home about. They weren't bad. It's just the other unit's better. Yeah.
It's a balanced unit. It will function perfectly fine, but Invictarus are just...
Yes.
They're way too stacked. Other than that, it's a perfectly fine unit. If it wasn't an elite unit, then it wouldn't be an issue.
So, they're not bad. Take them, but the other one's better.
Or if Suzerain were more
expensive. If you can fit them. But if you couldn't fit them or something like that, that was the issue. Or, again, you're looking at Forge Roll units. You just don't have it. Go for it. All right. That puts us to last two characters. Why don't we do the one from the book first, Remus? Who wants to talk about this guy?
Oh my God! You mean Commander Remus Ventanus of the Fourth Company, the hero of Calth
the savior of Calth. Get it
Dave,
right.
Come on. Oh, sorry. Apologies. The savior of Calth. Even better.
Talk about him. Tell me why he's as cool as you make him sound to be.
He's one of the main characters of the book.
See if he's got main character energy.
Remus. He's got main. No, this guy got BDE. So. Remus Ventanus, 175 points. We're looking at a movement 7, weapon skill 5, ballistic skill 5, strength, toughness, wounds 4, initiative 5, attacks 3, leadership 10, 2 up save. So I think it's a Praetor. No,
it's pretty much it's close. It's not exact.
Hybrid style.
Close enough. It's the midway point.
It's Praetor minus weapon skill
with an extra wound.
So he's got
this guy Artificer. Usually don't get the 4.
Yeah. He has a list of war gear. Iron Halo, Phaeton, Bolt Pistol, Nuncio Box, Melta Bombs, Frag Grenades, Crack Grenades, the Legion Standard, Artificer Standard. Or Artificer Armor, sorry. He's also Master of the Legion. He's an intimate character. He's Adamantium Will 3 up. He's also got Resolute Planning, and he's Loyalist for obvious reasons.
Wait, so this
his
isn't
Warlord
the guy who came out of Guilliman's... special, because this dude looks like he just strapped everything on himself and ran out of an armory.
No, he is not actually. No.
This is the model that was a limited release. If I remember correctly, it was a in-Games Workshop store anniversary model. It was a Forge World model that was only available in GW brick and mortars.
I did not know that.
Yup, it came out like a year, like when I first started Horus Heresy, within a year of Calth coming out. And I went, it's an Ultramarine, I'm good.
Neat. So no, this is not the dude who strapped everything to him. This is the dude who charged out of Calth and was just beating the crap out of word bearers left and right.
It's cool.
So if he's chosen as the Warlord, he has Resolute Planning. Both Remus Ventanus and any unit composed entirely of models with the Ultramarine special rule in an army with Remus Ventanus as Warlord automatically pass any leadership tests or morale checks made while they have at least one model within 3 inches of an objective. In addition, any army whose Warlord has this trait may take conditional reaction in the movement phase. So basically it's not even fearless. You automatically pass leadership tests or morale checks when you are within 3 inches of an objective. Hold it there.
Now, just to understand this correctly, this is going to apply to pitting checks, concussive checks, and psychic tests. Yeah? Those are all leadership checks?
Initiative is blind. The Graviton is strength. I think that's it for leadership.
But I just want to clarify.
Yeah,
this will affect concussive as well as psychic tests.
Yes.
Concussive is a leadership. That one I wasn't sure of. I don't use any of that stuff.
Yes, concussive leadership, yes.
For psychic, I think you're correct on that, but I'll take a look for exact wording.
Absolutely.
Although the one thing I will say is when you're close to objectives, unfortunately some of these games don't have a lot of objectives.
Yeah, you have to be close to an objective.
He could either be great or do nothing.
Nothing, absolutely, exactly. His power weapon or his melee weapon is Phaeton, strength user, AP3, melee, rending 5 up, mastercrafted. Nothing to write home about. So again, Dave kind of hit the nail on the head while he's looking at psychic tests. This guy can either be really, really great or do absolutely nothing. And I believe out of the 6 missions in the book, only 2 of them have objectives that you place? Or is it... Yeah. So, like, listen, if you're playing an objective game, Remus Ventanus is amazing. You put your people on objectives, and they just pass they pass morale checks, they pass any concussive checks, they, as Dave looks it up, they probably pass psychic tests, right? You are on that objective. You are holding that objective. I mean, also technically he has a Legion Standard. He also has a Nuncio Vox, so he does provide buffs. And he's cheap. He's 175.
Okay, I found it. Page 200, left side, last paragraph. Any rolls allow a model to automatically pass. Leadership checks have no effect on psychic checks.
Yep. So you will not auto pass your psychic checks.
But I found it so that way if everyone listens. Yeah. Now you can say, hey, yeah, some asshole on a podcast said I can't auto pass this.
It won't be fun.
By the way, fun fact, Steve, little side note. I learned on Friday because of you about Volkite. And I think you inadvertently said it and not realizing that Volkite is only triggered on each model kill, not wound done. Which I thought it was wound done, and then like Brett told me he was listening to you and you said it was model killed. So like Volkite doesn't affect dreadnoughts essentially, which I thought was a really cool thing that I completely changed my thought of how Volkite worked. Anyway, just wanted to give you a little smile. He specifically mentioned you.
That's not right. It's unsaved wounds.
I'm going to the page.
No.
You brought this up. You brought this on yourself.
I feel like...
Yeah, unsaved
wounds.
We were doing so good.
That's it.
Damn it.
Yeah, it's unsaved.
That does not sound right.
It absolutely affects dreadnoughts. Yeah.
Oh, it's unsaved wounds? All right, so I'm talking. Whoops.
Sorry, Brother Warsmith, if I've misled you.
All right, I'll let him know. That was funny.
We do.
Do we have one last
so the guy just talked about, they said, he's good. Yes.
Do we?
There's one more character. Either of you know? Tylos Rubio?
Where?
He's in the document. He's like further up. He's like the second page.
Oh! It's because he isn't an Ultramarine anymore. He's a Knights Errant.
Where the hell? Oh!
He doesn't have that much. Right. But he's not technically there. But I noticed because I type in the word Ultramarines. So...
okay, so he's not technically an Ultramarine. He doesn't get the Ultramarine rules.
So do we want to talk about him or no then? Yeah.
Yes, he's an Ultramarine.
All right.
Screw it.
I can go through him fast then. All right, so this guy, 150 points. He's move 7 as normal, weapon bliss skill 5, strength toughness 4. Of course, he's got 2 wounds. Initiative 5, he's got 3 attacks. Leadership 10 to up save. He's got a Paragon Bolter, Bolt Pistol, Polaris. He's got his grenades, and he has a special armor. He is a Psyker. He's also unique, of course. He's an independent character. He has a special role. The Emperor protects, Echoes of Fate, and he's a loyalist. He's an HQ. He can be a non-compulsory HQ, but he cannot be the Warlord. So he can't run your army. His weapon, Polaris, it's a strength 4. AP 3, it's a melee, it's rending on a 6, mastercrafted with divine guidance. So it says, any Psyker with a weapon or ability that has this special rule may choose to make a psychic test before making any attacks with that weapon or resolving the ability. Excuse me. If the check is successful, then the strength value of all attacks made with the weapon or ability are increased by +2, so it's a lesser force. In addition to any other modifiers it may have, and gain the Reaping Blow 3 special rule. So that's the big thing there. These benefits are only applied in the phase in which the attacks are made and immediately after the phase's end. If you fail the check, you take a perils, and if you survive, you can attack as normal. So he's strength 4. He could make himself strength 6 with Reaping Blow 3. So if he's got more models in his base, then he can get 3 extra attacks. So you can get quite a few attacks on that, which is good because always only 3 attacks. His armor, it's a 2-up, 4-up invul. So 2-up armor, 4-up invul. And it counts as having a psychic hood, so there's a free 15 points. Echoes of Fate. He may use psychic powers or psychic weapons from either divination or telepathy. Telepathy is very good. Divination I haven't used much, but telepathy I like.
Strong.
Yes.
Is that the one that removes your reaction?
Yes, it's the one that has the hitting and reaction
attack.
removal. It's roll like 6 shots or whatever for every time you hit pinning check with a penalty. So, BS5 model, you roll 6 dice, on average you're getting 5 hits.
Which so far everything I've shot that
-5.
Stubborn. Or does not get their stats reduced. But it did work 1 out of 2 times.
Or you don't take
those ones I make. It's for upping my toughness that I
those ones you made, okay.
And then he's got a special bolter.
Okay.
A 24-inch strength 5 AP4 assault 2 shred bolter. Assault 2 so he can fire it and at least charge in. He's a librarian.
He also gets a rule shown on Garrow's entry called the Emperor Protects.
You're right. Okay. The first time in the battle so does that
So he just borrows.
I'm assuming that he names it basically to himself.
So the first time he loses his last wound.
So if he would be removed as a casualty, roll down a 4-up, he's got 1 wound left and comes back essentially.
Yes.
Yeah, he was the first to be recruited by Garrow. Yep. So that's why. So when I did a search for Ultramarines, this guy came up. That's why he came up. So he's not technically an Ultramarine anymore.
Yeah. And technically he will prevent you from
in that
using your
unit,
advanced reaction.
Yeah, if he's in a unit, don't put him in a unit where you want to use it.
But anyone could take him if you really wanted him. If you want a little extra psycho spice in your life.
And he's neat. He's not bad. He's 150 points.
He's a little squishy with the 2 wounds, but he has a 4-up invul, which is nice.
Standard
swings
Centurion, really. So a standard Centurion with a Psycho upgrade is 105 with 2 wounds. If you don't put him in any better armor, just about standard Centurion. Better leadership. His leadership is 10 instead of the 9, so he's a little better, and he has a built-in psychic hood. So if you were to rebuild him, it would cost about 120. So he's about 30 extra points for some extra special rules. Which if you like it, and his weapon, which since he can't just take a force weapon, you're kind of stuck with it there. Which I think actually if you put the extra weapon, it would up it a little bit.
That is a shame.
Oh yeah, they get a force weapon automatically. So yeah, at least with this though, I mean, you do get the extra attacks, which is nice, but that's the big thing. He's a cool character. If you like him as a character, do it. Otherwise, I wouldn't bother. But if you think he's a cool character, go for it. All right. For as many units as they had, that actually does it for us on these guys. So let's start. We'll start with Steve for final thoughts.
To quote, I believe it's John Hurt that does the voiceover. And the greatest of them all are the Ultramarine. I mean, I think that as an army, it's very nicely designed, where they have special rules that benefit shooting and special units that do great in combat. So you get a nice, well-rounded legion between those two things. Special units are all really fun, and they do things differently than their generic counterparts, or have no counterparts, meaning when you bring the special unit, you feel the special unit. It's not just like here's a squad, and we'll give them a bonus attack. The only one that's even close to being a generic unit would be the Nemesis destroyers. So they have a lot of fun stuff they could do. I like the fact they have lots of use of boarding shields because I just love my boarding shields. The Terminators make me a little upset as an Iron Warrior because of course they do. But they are short range, so maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't. I haven't actually played them on the table, so maybe my rage gameplay wise is unjustified, but lore wise it's 100% justified. And I think Suzerain's maybe a little overpowered for the points, but again, I haven't seen them on the table, so I couldn't tell you for sure. I think it's an army that is perfectly. It works.
You never want it to feel like a choice is obvious. It could be obvious for your build. It could be obvious for your play style, but it shouldn't feel like Well, why didn't you put that unit in? Are you like trying to play down? When you look at Suzerain, yeah, you should take those guys. They are better than the Breachers. Assuming you have the points, they're better than the Breachers. Why wouldn't you want to take them? It feels obvious. The Fulmentarus feel pretty obvious. Yeah, the shots that you're probably a little bit more worried about are 24-inch range, but that's still pretty good.
I feel like I wouldn't mind it as much if it was either Strength 8 or Brutal 2. Like, if it's Strength 7, I wouldn't be nearly as up in arms about it.
To be fair, it's only
that's
one
on
shot
twos and
a pop, though.
Yeah, one shot a guy that's almost guaranteed to
hit on twos, wound on twos.
It's twos and twos.
You should be getting through. Let's say you rolled terrible. Let's say you got 3 through. Because statistically, you should probably be closer to 4. Maybe let's say it's 3. Let's say even you got 2 through. And let's say it's a worthwhile target. Terminators. All right. Make 2 4-up invul saves or die. And do that for each of your models. You're probably killing 2 there. And that's if you shot bad, if things went bad. If things go well, you could kill half a Terminator squad. Like, they are bad if your opponent isn't bringing heavy things. If you're facing someone who's just bringing tons and tons of normal Marine bodies, yeah, the shots are going to do nothing. You switch to the other one. They have a weapon that handles either problem.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I'll fire 20 shots at you, hitting on 2s, say wounding on 3s in general. I'll carve enough of you down. Yeah, I'm going to hit you with essentially a heavy bolter. For all intents and purposes, a pins.
Well, they also get their bolter.
Yeah,
they have
that's true. Yeah, they actually do have
fire
bolters.
particles
So
too.
they can deal with anything. They're expensive, but they can deal with a lot of things. The only somewhat, maybe, I don't want to say saving grace is, since their one weapon is a bit shorter, if you can outrange them, maybe then if you can kill a few first, but it's going to be tough. They're honestly probably a little too much. I don't know by how much because I haven't played against them yet. But if like you play someone who likes to run Terminators, it's going to be an uphill climb potentially versus these guys. But Dan, any final thoughts?
I mean, you guys kind of said it all. They just play very well, and they play to their strength very well as well. And it's kind of cool. I like this Legion a lot, mostly because you can. Okay, so like the World Eaters, very much, you could play with tanks and stuff like that, but they very much want to be a melee army, and every Legion we had some kind of like, kind of specific thing that they did. Ultramarines are very much like, we kind of do everything, not the best, but we do kind of do everything. And I like that kind of play style. I like the toolkit play style, where it's like we kind of have an answer for everything.
Sometimes it is.
It's not the best answer. But it is something that, well, sometimes it is, but it is an answer. And I like I said, I've never played against an Ultramarines player because the one Ultramarine player I know it's Loyalist, and I play Loyalist Custodes. There was 1.0. By that time, I hadn't played my Trader Mechanicum for quite some time. And so I never got to play against Ultramarines. But I remember correctly from his army, it was Suzerains, it was the special boarding troops, it was Fulmentarus, and then it was some backup tanks. It was very much like a very specialized army, and it's really cool. Anyway, I like them. They're really, again, this was one of my top 3 armies that I wanted to do. That Alpha Legion and Salamanders.
I did one game against them. It was a learning game, though, so it was also a small game, teaching someone the game and all. But no, these guys are strong. The ability they have is very nice. It's a very straightforward way to use it. You can absolutely, if you have this Fulmentarus Terminator squad, when I shoot some other unit, I might not want to be shooting my Terminators anywhere that these guys can see me, because you could use your advanced reaction and still allow them to take shots at me then. Like, there's been a few legions that feel sometimes a little stronger than others. I think their strength comes from their special units and from their ability to buff even their normal units in terms of shooting. I think if you're trying to capitalize, that's what you capitalize on. And if you're trying to play a little bit more friendly or fun, or especially if you're showing someone the game, be careful with some of the special units that you take. because they can perform very, very well, and they could outperform what someone else is ready for. Like these Terminators, if someone has no idea they're coming or hasn't figured out good ways to deal with it, it could very well be a feel bad experience. So much like Iron Hands, I said, you want to think about what you're bringing, what you're fighting, and what level of play you want to be at. I feel Ultramarines, if you have a lot of their special toys, is also that same sort of thought. But all right, that puts it at just under 2 hours for Ultramarines. And that'll do it for us tonight. As you can tell, this video is coming out about a day later than we've been doing lately. I'm just starting actually getting back into the swing of working again, which takes up more of my time, especially in the beginning, trying to settle back into a new semester and all. So it made the editing a little bit slower. We also ended up not being able to record a second episode because we actually did some battle report. Whether or not that actually comes out, we're going to see if I can salvage any of what we have. It was really a test run to see if what we have works, how well it works, can it do anything for us, and what do we need to do from here. So if I can get something good out, I will. Otherwise, you will see as soon as we have something worthwhile to share with everyone. As always, though, I do want to thank anyone and everyone for listening. If you have any questions or anything like that and you want to reach out, we have our email. It's trainkickersnj@gmail.com. Otherwise, over the next few days, you're going to see some videos. Other than this, you'll see some Rights of War as well. And then next week, we're going to try to get back onto our normal schedule. If what we recorded today works out well, you're going to see that. If not, you will see the first one that is presentable to the masses. We'll see exactly how long that takes us. All right. Well, on behalf of everyone here at the show, have some good hobbying and some great gaming.